guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. This is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I answer them to the best of my ability. There's some amazing questions this week. If you want to ask some questions that are going to get answered next Sunday, then do me a favor and leave them in the comments to this video. There's so many comments on this channel now. If you put them on another video, I might not see them. If you want to have them guaranteed to be answered, leave them in the comments to this video and I'll get to them next week. Now, before we start with the questions, I do have an announcement to make, which is that I'm doing a show. A lot of you might know that I run a company called Slightly Unusual, and it's sort of an entertainment company for magicians, and it's something that I absolutely love doing. Anyway, we're doing a virtual show on the 3rd of April at 7:30 GMT. It's going to be a 1 hour, 15-minute show. We've done several of these over the last few months, but this is going to be the next one. I thought I'd promote it to you guys. It's going to run for about an hour, maybe about an hour and 10 minutes. And I've got a lineup of 4 magicians. So I'm going to be comparing. I'm going to be doing probably about a 20-minute, 25-minute set in there. We've also got Jester Styles, otherwise known as Tom Mullinger. He's doing sort of a 15, 16-minute set. If you don't know Tom, I did an interview with him that went up on Wednesday. Go check that interview out. It's fantastic. I've worked with Tom for many, many years. Tom is brilliant. His style is so good. It really is. And the stuff that he does virtually is amazing. Also, we're going to have Roman Armstrong on there. Roman is a very funny comedy magician. I've known Roman for years. I mean, the guy's like 20 odd now, but I got booked to do his like 10th birthday party. Roman is awesome. He's very, very funny and he's so good. And then finally, the other act is Ryland. Ryland's going to be doing part of his act. He's going to be doing like about a 10 or a 12-minute set as well. I'm not too sure what. It's probably either going to be Rubik's Cubes, knowing Ryland, or it's going to be Cups and Balls or something like that, or he might be doing some mind reading. I don't know. But it's going to be a really great night of magic and variety. Tickets are £15. However, tickets for you guys, if anybody that's watching this wants to come along and watch, you can do. It's £10. All you need to do if you do want to come along is fill in the form down below. So in the description, there's going to be a link to a form on Magic TV that'll let me know that you guys are coming through from Magic TV and you're not one of the Slightly Unusual customers or people from Facebook or whatever, and you'll get those tickets for £10. The other thing I'm doing for anybody who comes through from Magic TV, the following night on the 4th of April, I'm doing a lecture. I'm doing an online lecture for an hour, and I'm probably going to be doing a lecture on a whole bunch of unpublished magic, some coin stuff, some card stuff, some stuff that I've never actually published or spoke about before. And the only way you can get access to this lecture is if you have booked a ticket and come and watched the virtual show. Now, it's on the Zoom platform. We have multiple Zoom accounts. However, none of them can allow more than 100 people on the platform. And I believe currently there's 55 people that have booked tickets already for this. So that's just from advertising it over the last few days to our sort of email list, people that have booked us through Slightly Unusual. So it's already really busy. There's probably only about 40, maybe 50 places left. So if you do want to come along, you're more than welcome. Tickets are £10 instead of £15. It's at 7:30 on the 3rd of April. It's going to run for about an hour. As I say, it's me, Tom, Ryland and Roman. And anybody who does come to that, and you're a magician, you book through the form on Magic TV, you will be given another link to another event that I'm doing on the Sunday night, the following night, and it's going to be a lecture just for magicians where I'm going to be talking about stuff and lecturing on some unpublished material. That's probably going to be about 8:30, 9:30 start, so our cousins in America can actually make it. And yeah, the only way to get access to that lecture is by buying a ticket to the virtual show. So for £10, you get to see my virtual show, you get to see Ryland perform, you get to see Jester perform, you get to see Roman perform, and you get to come along to the lecture that I'm doing on Sunday night. £10 for a lot, that's not too bad. Just fill in the form. There's a description link down below. Click on the link, fill in the form. That'll take you through to the Magic TV site. Fill in the form, then you'll get sent an email with what you need to do. And once you've paid, you'll get the Zoom links for both events. So there you go. I don't sell stuff on this channel ever. It's just the only reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of people have said, hey, when are you doing another lecture? I don't lecture that often these days. Or, hey, is there any way we can watch you do a Zoom show or a virtual show? Well, this way you can kill two birds with one stone. But don't leave it too late. Tickets are limited. Anyway, with that out of the way, sorry about the sales pitch. I don't normally do that. This is a one-time thing, honestly. Let's get on with answering some questions. Okay, so the first question of the day is from Mr. Harmon. And his first question is, what are your favourite Nikolas Mavresis tricks? Well, as you know, I've become a very big Nikolas Mavresis fan. What is my favourite Nikolas Mavresis trick? I have to say it's Poison, which is his latest trick. I am digging that so much. I really am. We're going to be reviewing it on the channel soon, but I was completely fooled when I saw the demo. Do yourself a favor, go look at the demo for Poison by Nikolas Mavresis on the Alakazam site. I was completely fooled. I understood that he used like the Gemini sort of principle, but I couldn't understand how it actually worked. And when I watched the download, it's so clever. But then you've got extra stuff as well. So they've given you extra cards, so you can do a wild card routine. You can do there's a really nice version of Color Monty in there as well. There's so much stuff you can do. It's really, really, really there's so much material in with this set. It's great, but the actual main routine is fantastic. I love the kicker of everything being poison. And I was speaking to Peter Nardi the other day, and he's got an expansion pack coming out soon with extra cards as well, so you can do even more stuff with this set. It's great for the places that I perform. Although I love all of his stuff, I think that is a real winner. But we'll be doing a review soon on the review show. But yeah, I'd say Poison is my favorite Nikolas Mavresis trick so far. Okay, so the next question is from Gabriel Gray, and his question is, where should someone start with coin box magic? I'm very interested, but I don't know if I should get an Akito, a Boston, a slot, and or should I invest in one of the dollars or half dollars? It's an expensive prop, so I'd like to know more about it. Well, I am doing a video. It's going to be a Hows and Whys of coin box magic. So I'm going to be talking, you know, like I did the flipper coin thing and I did the mem deck thing. I'm going to be doing another one of those videos for coin box magic because I get this question an awful lot. So look out for that. It's going to be like a 40-minute deep dive. I'm going to be filming that in the next few days. But just to give you some information, I would go for a $half size. Even though I've got dollar and $half Akito boxes and all sorts of different boxes, I always revert back to the $half size. The best place to go and get material, learn material, there's lots of different places. I'll be talking about this in the video, but I recommend Roth because before Roth came along, a lot of people, when they were doing stuff with the Akito coin box, all they did was the classic routine, which is putting the coins in the box, secretly turning over as you put the lid on, and then stealing the coins out and either making them disappear, having them go through the hand, that sort of stuff. It was Roth that innovated lots of moves and ideas with coin boxes that were very out-the-box thinking, pardon the pun. So the spill-out steal, which is the idea of as you're opening and spilling out the coins, you're stealing one back, which is great for routines like out in out. He's got other steals when you put the coins in the box one at a time, you're actually stealing them or putting them to the bottom of the box. That's really clever. The rim steal is great, where you're dropping the coins in the box and you're using the rim of the box to actually steal those coins out into classic palm. There's lots of different moves that he actually innovated, and all of my favorite coin box routines don't use the classic turnover move, or maybe they just use it once. So I'd check out David Roth. The other thing that I'd check out is anything by Mark Leverage on coin boxes. Mark Leverage has put a ton of stuff out on coin box magic, and all of it is really, really good. There are other sources which I'll be getting to at some point when this video is shot. The main difference is with a Boston box, it's exactly the same as the Boston box is exactly the same as the Akito box. The only difference is there is a recess at the bottom of the box big enough to hold a coin, and you can actually have a coin like waxed in there. And what it allows you to do is when you do the turnover move, you can actually take off the lid and apparently show that the coins are still in there, even though you're actually in a position where you've either just stolen them away or you're about to steal them away. The slot box is the same as the Akito box, other than there's a slot running around the inside. So as you tip the coins out, one coin will be retained inside the box, which is useful if you're wanting to do routines that would normally require a spill out steal, but without actually having to do the spill out steal. However, the trade-off is there are routines that require a slot box where you have to do a hang ping chen out the box instead of the spill out steal. So there's pros and cons of using the slot box. I think it's the weakest of all the boxes. Lots of other boxes, Germain boxes. You know what you want to have a look at? You want to look at the Duivier box, the Dominic Duivier box. There's some great stuff you can do with that box. I mean, damn, that's got, it's like a Boston box, and it's also a Nikito box, and it has this wonderful finale where you end up with a plug, which is like a solid blocks, but you haven't actually switched the boxes. Look, I'm going to be getting into this in more detail in a video coming up soon. But for now, if you're wanting to just have a bit of a practice round, my advice would be get yourself a Roth material, the book if you can. If not, he's got DVDs on Coinbox work. Then get yourself an Akito box, $half size, get yourself 5 $half, and you can't go wrong with that. Okay, so the next question is by Andrew Young. Hey Andrew, how you doing? And he says, I've always heard that pros do the same 10 tricks, the same 10 effects to many different people, and amateurs do hundreds of tricks to the same 10 people. You seem to buck that notion. My question is that saying wrong with today's world, or are you just the exception? You know what? That saying isn't wrong. I've heard that saying an awful lot, and I'm actually teaching some people how to do magic at the moment. I'm teaching a couple of people, a guy called TJ, how to actually be a close-up magician. He's already an actor and a performer, but I'm teaching him close-up magic, and I gave him that advice. He said, how many routines do I need to go out and do I need to learn before I can go out and perform at a gig? And I said, really, you need 10 to 12 solid routines. And that's true, because as a pro, you don't need many routines, because the whole idea is every night you're going to be performing for different people. And if you're doing close-up magic, you might only be performing to the same group of people 5 or 6 times. So yes, that is true. That argument is true. And you are right, I do buck the trend. And there's a few different reasons for that. And let me explain what these few reasons are. The first reason is, you got to understand that I love magic. So for me, magic is my job, it's my livelihood, it's my profession. But if I wasn't performing professionally, if I wasn't doing magic professionally, I would be doing it as an amateur. It would be my hobby. And it was my hobby before I became professional, and it never went away. Now, when a lot of magicians become professional, they stop learning new magic. And the reason they stop learning new magic is because they're too busy going out and performing at gigs. They haven't got time to learn magic, because the problem is when you're a professional, you live and die by the gigs that you're going and doing, and you're only as good as your last gig. So if you're constantly trying to put new material in, and it's a high-end gig or a gig that's really important, you don't want to be doing something that you've only just learned. So a lot of professional magicians will do, it's difficult, it's nerve-wracking to take a new routine and slot it into a set when you know that the routines that you've been doing up until this point work. You know, I do get that point. I do get why a lot of professional magicians do the same tricks over and over again. But I love magic as a hobby, and I would get bored if I did the same 10 tricks over and over again. If I just had 10 tricks and I just performed those 10 tricks for the rest of my life, I would be bored to tears. I love learning new magic. I love scripting and coming up with presentations for new magic. I love learning new techniques. I just love magic. And I've got a really good memory for tricks. I've been doing a magic live every single day now for almost a year and a half. And I've not repeated a trick once, and I'm nowhere near close to running out of repertoire. I'm like probably 5% of my repertoire in. So I love performing magic. I love learning new magic tricks. And for me, magic is about sharing that with an audience. So I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go out and just do a trick that I learned that night. Oh, right, I've just learned this. It looks fairly easy. I'm going to go out and perform it. But I love the process of getting it into a position where I can go and perform it, right? Getting it ready from a technical point of view. Yeah, I think I've got all that down now. Getting it ready from a presentational point of view. Yeah, this presentation makes sense. This is what I'm going to do. And I love the challenge. I love pushing myself out my comfort zone. Because if I'm just going out and doing the same stuff over and over again, it's not a challenge. It's just not. I know I can go and kill with the same 10 tricks over and over again, and I won't ever have to push myself. But I do like pushing myself. I like putting things in a different direction. On top of that, I genuinely believe, although you can get away with just 10 tricks forever, the other thing that I would say is different environments dictate different routines. And what I mean by that is a chop cut might be perfect for this environment, but it might not be perfect for this environment. So I do think that realistically, as professional performers, we should build our repertoire up and have it a bigger, because it gives us more license and more scope to be able to. I'll give you a perfect example. I was speaking to a guy just the other day, literally just a week ago. I was speaking to somebody, and he said, "Oh, I've been booked to do 3 hours at a wedding. I haven't got enough material. There's only 50 people there." And I totally get that, because if you go up to a group of 10 people and you spend 20 minutes with them and you've done 7 tricks, well, you're going to burn through that material in 3 hours. Having a big repertoire of stuff that you can do, that you're confident in, that's performance ready, that you can let. I'm not talking about new stuff that's not ready, but having a big repertoire of stuff that is ready, that's going to help you out. Now, the other thing is, I use this from a marketing point of view. So when I'm speaking to clients, one thing that I'll say is, look, here's what I'm going to do. When I perform at your event, I'm going to make sure that every single group of people sees something different. So that group will see something different from that group and that group. And I'll say to people on the phone, I'll say, not a lot of magicians do this. Let me explain why I do it. I do it because for me, I want the magic to extend beyond the length of time that you've booked me for. And what I mean by that is, when people talk about what they've seen me do, and I'll tell you right now, people will talk about what they've seen me do. If I've done the same trick to every single group of people there that night, well, everyone's going to have the same experience. Nobody's going to have seen something different. Everyone's going to have seen the same thing. It's not going to be as good as if everybody sees something different. Oh, wow, the magician was great. He made a card appear under my watch. Really? Well, he made a bottle of wine appear with me. Oh, really? Well, you've got to see what he did with me. He read my mind. Oh, he stole my watch. Whatever it may be. Now, everyone's talking about. They're spending the whole night talking about the different things that they've seen. It makes it a more enjoyable experience for absolutely everybody, but also it's a great sales point from me. And then when people rave about it on social media, they're all seeing different things. It builds up a buzz. So from a marketing point of view, having a big repertoire and having more than those 10 set tricks kind of really allows you to stand out from the crowd. And that's what marketing's all about, being able to stand out from the crowd. And the other thing is, I love creating magic. Even when I took a break from the magic community, and we've talked about this extensively on this channel, but I took 5 years off from the magic community, I didn't stop creating magic. I was still creating just as much magic, but I was creating it for just myself. And I was going out and I was having gimmicks made and I was doing all of this just to go out and perform myself. I had no intention of releasing it. Now, will I do that? Maybe. Down the line, possibly. You might see some of the stuff on Netrix or other avenues. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But I love creating magic. I love... inspiration strikes at any time. Just the other day, I was looking at 4 aces and I was doing a routine that I've done for years, and I was looking at it. I was like, hang on, what would that happen if I did that and I did that? Well, if I've got in the mindset of only going to do the same 10 tricks over and over again, well, then I'm not going to be creating new magic, and I'm going to ultimately get bored. I don't want to get bored. I want to love what I do, and that involves learning new material, learning new moves, creating new magic, so that I can constantly vary things up. I've got 12 cabaret sets, 12 45-minute cabaret sets that I rotate round because I like having variety. I like doing lots of different things. I like experimenting with new ideas and new concepts. It's why I like doing kid shows. You see a lot of magicians that go, I wouldn't do kid shows. I don't like performing for children because, no. I only perform close-up magic and stage shows, don't you know? Well, I love doing kid shows because it's something I enjoy doing, and I'm never going to stop doing it. Don't do it as much as I used to, but I love doing kid shows. I love doing cabaret. I love doing parlor. I love doing illusion shows. I love doing close-up. I love performing. Now, I'm not taking anything away from those people that just have a set of 10 tricks and that's all they do over and over and over and over again. But I would argue that if you are that person that's just doing the same 10 tricks over and over again, creatively, you've got yourself into a little bit of a rut. Because I know if I'm performing a trick that I perform for the millionth time, I almost go into autopilot, like, yeah, okay, now I'm going to do that. And I'm kind of thinking about, I wonder when Cobra Kai season 4 is going to be. And I'm just performing and I'm not even thinking about it. And by the time the trick's finished, I don't really remember doing it. I know I have, people are applauding, but I haven't even almost been there. I've switched off and I don't want to ever get myself into that situation. So I have to keep constantly challenging myself and coming up with new material. But that's me. Doesn't mean I'm right about this, but hopefully that answers your question. That's why I do like varying things up. There's nothing wrong with having those same 10 tricks, but I tend to not prescribe to that argument. Okay, so the next question is from Gabriel Gray. Great video as always, Craig. Thank you very much. What do you think of Danny Goldsmith's magic and would you interview him? I think Danny's No, I couldn't really pull that off. Danny's great. He's an amazing coin magician. He's one of those guys that I watch him perform and I watch his videos and he just fools me over and over again. He just fools me over and over again. I remember the first time I saw him do that thing where he's got a coin in his hand and he openly just turns it over and it's gone and his hands are empty. And I feel like a layman again. When I watch Danny Goldsmith, I feel like a layman. He makes me feel like a layman. Would I interview him? I have interviewed him. The interview has been done. It is almost 2 hours in length. He performs some incredible magic. He talks about his philosophies on magic. He talks about his creativity and how magicians can be more creative. It's one of my favorite interviews that I've done. It's currently in post. We're currently editing it together. There's a lot of stuff to edit with this interview. But would I interview him? Yes, I have done, and it'll be dropping on the channel soon. So hope that answers your question. He's amazing. I have interviewed him. Look out for it. It's coming up soon. So the next question is again by Mr. Harmon. He says, except for the invisible deck, what props should magicians own? And really, that's kind of a very open-ended question. It very much depends on what environment you perform in and what type of magic you enjoy doing. So I, for example, I collect cups and balls and chopped cups. I've got hundreds of cups, hundreds of balls, hundreds of chopped cups. I absolutely love them all. Would I perform them at every single gig? Absolutely not. Again, it very much depends. Like, for example, I'll give you another example. I have a split press by Guy Barrett. That is my go-to illusion. I either open my show or close my show with that illusion. It is absolutely amazing. For me, it's the ambitious card of the illusion world. I love the split press. However, and so for me, as an illusionist, as somebody who goes out and does illusion shows, absolutely 100% I need a split press. That's something that I need, and I think every illusionist should have one. However, I'm not going to go table hopping and take the split press around with me. So again, it very much depends on the situation. It also depends on the type of magic that you do. For example, if you're into floating stuff and levitating stuff, you probably definitely either need a Spider Pen Pro or you need some loops or something like that, because that's just something you're going to need if you're into levitating stuff. If you're not into levitating stuff, it's not something that you need. I personally think, to get back to the question, what props should all magicians own? I think we should all have a Sharpie and a pack of cards and some $50. You know, I've gone out and done gigs with some elastic bands on my wrist, some $50 in my pocket, pack of cards and a Sharpie, and we're good. You know, all of these new weird and wonderful routines that come out and all of these new tricks. Realistically, if you go out with some coins, pack of cards, Sharpie, and some elastic bands on your wrist, you can do hours and hours of magic. Really strong commercial magic. So there's not really any trick. You could argue that you need some sort of wallet for card to wallet style routines. You could argue that. But it's really a very difficult question to answer, because one man's treasure is another man's trash. I'm sure you've heard that expression or variations of it before, but it's really true. You know, there's certain routines that I hate that I'd never do. I spoke to somebody the other day and they say they swear by Summit. And ever since they've got it, it's gone straight into their act. They absolutely love it. Summit is the trick of the year for them. That's great. For me, I think it's absolute trash. So there's no right or wrong in terms of the props that you should or you shouldn't own. Even something like an invisible deck, you can get by without an invisible deck. A lot of magicians do get by without an invisible deck. So I think it very much depends on the type of magician you are and understanding the type of tricks that you like performing. By the way, if you haven't seen David Penn's idea for Summit on the Wizard Product Review a couple of weeks ago, go check it out, because oh my gosh, he's got a brilliant idea of how you can actually do Summit without actually needing Summit, and it's so clever. It really, really is. And when I saw him explain it to Sean, I was like, oh my god, that is brilliant. So yeah, you might want to have a go and check that out as well in Wizard Product Review. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It's just a difficult question to answer. Like I said, I personally think elastic bands, 4 coins, pack of cards, and a Sharpie, and I'm good to go. Okay, so the next question is by Mike King. And Mike, hey Mike, how you doing, by the way? Mike says, what are your thoughts on callbacks in Magic? Comedians use this process with great success in their routines all of the time. I'm guessing by callbacks you mean you set something up at the beginning of your show or the beginning of your set, and then you call back to it later on. If that's the case, I think it's brilliant. But I think it's more applicable to stage magic than it is to close-up. So, for example, one thing that I do in a lot of my stage shows is I do a routine that requires the use of John Allen's destination box, which is an amazing prop. It really is. It's a wooden locked box that you can give out to somebody, and anything that you want, a note, a bill, a coin, a folded up playing card, anything, ring, whatever, will appear in the locked box that the spectator's been holding on to inside a little pill box, a little silver pill box. Inside the wooden box is the thing that and it's given out at the very, very beginning. It's amazing. And I always use that in my cabaret show. And at the very, very beginning, after I've done my my kind of warm-up, I say, now, ladies and gentlemen, there is an order of business. I would like to give this box to somebody in the audience. I'd like someone to hold on to it. We will get back to this a little bit later on. So if you could hold that for me, that would be absolutely amazing. You, sir, can you help me? And I typically will do that Doc Eason style. Who's got the box? I'll kind of get them to do that. So they hold on to that box. And then afterwards, I do, as either the penultimate routine or the final routine of my show, I do something, and everyone's forgotten about that box because that was given out like 40 minutes ago. And then I do something happens, I don't really want to explain what, but something happens. I'm like, I can fix this. With 4 words, I can fix this. And the 4 words are, who's got the box? So yeah, I mean, that's just one example. I do a lot of callback style stuff in my show. If you know No Brainer by Bill Abbott, that's another way that you can do it, because you can have this envelope on display from the very, very beginning of your show, and that's on display there. And then you can have lots of different stuff talked about during the show and then call back to that envelope at the very, very end. In close-up magic, I think it's less applicable. It can be, but the problem is, a lot of the time with close-up, I think you need the magic to be non-linear. And the reason you do is because most environments, when you perform close-up magic, you might end up getting cut short. So if you're doing mix and mingle magic before they go into the wedding breakfast or before they go into the corporate dinner, gala dinner, whatever it may be, at any moment you could have somebody say, right, okay, everybody move into the next room, and you've got to stop the set short. If you're doing restaurant magic or table hopping in restaurant magic, you could have at any moment people put the food down on the table. Same if you're doing gala dinners, whatever it may be. A lot of the time you have to stop. Now, if you've set something up at the beginning and then you're planning on calling back to it at the end, but you're having to stop your performance halfway through, it's a little bit anticlimactic for the person that you're performing for. So I think that callbacks, or the use of callbacks, are more useful in stage magic than they are in close-up, just because of the nature of how it all works. But yeah, I think callbacks are really important. Does that answer your question? Let me know down below, Mike. Is this something that you do? Can you give me an idea in the comments of how you actually use callbacks? I'd love to know. Okay, so the next question is by the Seventh Self. Hey there, how you doing? And the question is, what cards do you use, and where is a good place to get good cards without breaking the bank? 9 times out of 10, I use bikes. I have a lot of routines where I'm having cards ripped up and signed and torn, and I can literally do a 2-hour gig and I'll end up with like 25, 30 cards. So by getting, I'll go to Costco and I'll get like tons of playing cards, or I'll use Bicycle Elite from Penguin. But whichever place that I tend to go, I'll tend to trash a pack of cards. I'll get through a pack of cards in one gig. If I'm the deck that I'm using to do that particular gig that's going to get signed and ripped up and folded and everything, it'll get opened before the gig and then it'll get thrown in the bin as I leave the gig. However, I am a big fan of Cohorts by Illusionist. You can get them other places as well. I think Cohorts are amazing. They're my favorite type of card. I will have a deck of cohorts with me. If I'm doing parlor, I won't use bicycle cards. If I'm doing sort of a set show, it'll probably be a deck of cohorts that I use. Definitely, I'll be using a pack of cohorts for mem deck stuff and things like that. But yeah, I love cohorts. They are my favorite type of cards. Also, one of my favorite routines, which is the stretching card, which I absolutely love. That's marketed by Illusionist. That's in cohorts and only in cohorts. So that's another reason to love the cohorts. But if you're just going to do a gig, just get yourself a pack of bikes, man, because you're going to be practicing with them. They're going to get wrecked. You know, you want cards that aren't going to break the bank. Go and get yourself a deck of bikes. That's what I'd suggest. Okay, so next question is by Magic Elliott. How you doing, man? 2 questions. Where did the catchphrase "whole bunch of stuff" come from? You know what? I didn't even know that's a catchphrase of mine. I tend to say stuff, as I say with these videos, man, it's not scripted at all in any way, shape or form. So this is Sarah's phone. She gives me the phone. She opens it up to the page that's got all the questions on, and I just read them. I might have glanced at them earlier on in the week, but I try not to answer the questions during the week. I reply to most people's comments, but I try not to look at the questions because I want it to be fresh. I think if I script it, it's not going to be as good as if I'm actually answering this stuff off the cuff. So I didn't even know that was a catchphrase. But there you go. Apparently it is. And the serious question that you've got, have you had any more ideas about the Splitcoin since the DVD? Could you put some stuff in about that, maybe as a 5x5? I am actually doing a hows and whys of the Splitcoin, like I did a hows and whys of the Flippercoin video. I'm going to do the same thing with the Splitcoin. You know, the Splitcoin, I've been using it for years. I remember when World Magic Shop bought the rights to the Splitcoin from Johnny Wong, and they started producing their version, and they asked me to put up some routines together with the Splitcoin. There's so much you can do with it. I've got so many different Splitcoins, and yes, I have been still creating since Split Happens came out. I mean, Mark Bendel's use of it with the bag is absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen that, having that Splitcoin inside that see-through bag, I think it's marketed by RSVP Magic, and then you just have 2 coins and you do a simple equivoke and you just pull out. That's such an amazing idea with a Splitcoin. And when I saw that, I was like, damn, why did I not think of that? That is so annoying. But you referenced the Medallion Trick, which is one of my favorite routines with the Splitcoin. And the whole, I'll do this on a Magic Live, and we're doing, as I say, a hows and whys of the Splitcoin video soon. So look out for that. But the Medallion Trick is great because you put the coin down on the table, you cover it up with a glass. You actually, let's get the whole thing correctly. So you have stickers. You have stickers, little round stickers, and you put a sticker on each side of the coin. So you have this coin examined, you put a sticker on each side, and you get them to sign one sticker. So they sign one sticker, and then on the other side you write something. Okay, so you write something, and then you put it down on the table. They can see their initials. You cover it up with the glass, and then you get a pad, and you're getting 3 people to give you numbers, and there's a reason behind it. Presentationally, it all makes sense. So you're having the 3 numbers written down, and then you show the 3 numbers, and then you just put the pad there, you pick up the glass, and you show this, and you say, that's your initials, right? And you slowly turn it over, and you pre-wrote beforehand the numbers on the other side. It is such a strong use of the Splitcoin. And I remember when I came up with it, I was like, okay, I was so happy, because this was normally with coin magic, it's things appearing and disappearing, and now I'm going to put it through the table, now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do that. And I was so happy that I had this use of this prop that was just completely different to anything else out there. So yeah, I'll look out for that video. But yes, I have still been creating with the Splitcoin. And if you haven't seen Mark Bendel's unknown routine with the Splitcoin, it's absolutely brilliant. Go and check it out. Okay, so the next question is by John Taylor 101, and John says, "Hey Craig, I have a question. What do you think about David Devant's philosophy about only knowing 8 tricks? You clearly perform lots of tricks of various different kinds in just about every area of magic, so I wondered what your thoughts on this idea were. Thanks." I answered that just a little while ago. Apparently I'm getting more than one question about the same subject. So I wanted to address this. I didn't want you to think that I'd completely glossed over and not actually addressed your question. I've answered it. Go look back at the previously on the video. But yeah, hopefully, if you want further clarification, just drop a comment below. But hopefully the answer I gave earlier on will answer that question for you in full. So the next question is by Steve Wessler. How you doing, Steve? And Steve's question, if you're a dinosaur, what dinosaur would you be? That's a very good question. What dinosaur would I be? My gosh, I think I'd be a velociraptor. I think I'd be a velociraptor because they kind of hang around in packs and it's strength in numbers, and the T-Rex is kind of all on its own, and you know, a lot of the Vegisauruses are just a bit boring, aren't they? So I think I'll be a velociraptor. At least then I've got mates around with me, and I've always got somebody to watch my back. So yeah, I think I'd be a velociraptor. It's not something I've ever thought about before, but if I was going to be any type of dinosaur, I think I'd be a velociraptor. What about you? So the next question is by the Fess. How you doing, buddy? And the question is, hey Craig, I have a question. What is your thoughts on rubber band magic and its creators like Joe Rindfleisch and Dr. Cyril Thomas? Yeah, I think rubber band magic is amazing. I do a lot of Joe's material. If you haven't seen the interview I did with Joe, go check it out. It's absolutely brilliant. I think Joe is amazing. I've been doing rubber band magic right back from the early days with Dan Harlan all the way through to today. And my pet hate with rubber band magic, and I talked about this on the Joe Rindfleisch interview, but my pet hate with rubber band magic is every single rubber band magician does the same freaking trick, which is crazy man's handcuffs and then pulling it through their thumb. That's what every single magician that does rubber bands does. And that's just scratching the tip of the iceberg. That's like just having a deck of cards and just doing ambitious card over and over again. There's so much more you can do. And I honestly think that if you want to get into rubber band magic, you need to be looking at some of the more crazy techniques and the more crazy ideas out there, because there is so much stuff out there that's just absolutely brilliant, and people aren't doing it. So if you're gonna go and learn rubber band magic, don't just learn crazy man's handcuffs and stop. Go the whole way. And by the way, one of the, if not the best rubber band routines I've ever seen is Joel Dickinson's Link, which he put out through Real Workers. I remember seeing Joel do this at the 2020 Blackmore Magic Convention, and he was just there linking two rubber bands together and over again, and they were just linking together. And then I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. How are you doing this? How are these rubber bands linking together? I was completely and totally and utterly fooled, and I bought it. And I did what you do at a convention, right? I bought it and I went to open it to look for the gimmick. There was no gimmick in there. It was just literally two rubber bands. I'm like, how is he doing this? And I had to go that night and check out the instructional download in order to figure it out. And I was like, oh my God, that's so clever. It is a real working routine. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I've done an interview with Joel. It's going to be hitting soon on the channel. And Joel actually performs that and talks about the creation of that routine on the actual download. So that's worth looking at as well. But yeah, rubber band magic, I love it. It's amazing. Okay, so the next question is by Ablo Fluido, and he asks, hey buddy, by the way, John Bannon always talks about tricks with high pain to glory ratio, the strongest tricks for the least amount of work. In your opinion, what tricks do you do that match that criteria? Wow, what a question. What tricks do I do? Well, I just did a video on some of the best self-working tricks of all time. So you can go check that out. I mean, there's a lot of self-working magic tricks that I like that are incredibly impactful. I talked about Paul Harris's Overkill, which is absolutely amazing. I talked about Neither Blind Nor Stupid by Juan Tamariz, which is absolutely brilliant. But there's so many that I haven't even touched on. One of my favorite self-working tricks is what's it called? Aronson Shuffleboard. Aronson Shuffleboard is brilliant. I have done it for years. And the presentation I use is Paul Green's Double Jeopardy presentation, which again is equally as good. Shuffleboard, to be honest, is one of those routines that I think matches that criteria perfectly, which is it's incredibly easy to do. There's no skill involved in it whatsoever. And yet it absolutely kills. And you know what? One of the big takeaways I took from Andy Gladwin's book is he's got a way of actually doing shuffleboard on stage in front of everybody, and he's got this amazing presentation using an iPad, and he's using the iPad to do shuffleboard, and you just create a sort of a slideshow in Keynote, and you do it with an iPad. It was a brilliant idea. Absolutely loved it. And I'm going to actually start doing that. So yeah, shuffleboard. I think shuffleboard actually is the one that kind of matches that criteria. The high plane to glory. Yeah. Strong trick for the least amount of work. Shuffleboard is definitely the one as I think about it. Yeah. But from my point of view, I think that you want to try and make your magic as simple as possible. And the thing that magicians mistake simple for easy. Simple is not easy. for example, the simplest way for me to control the card is to use a pass, right? Or a side steal. Now, it's not the easiest by any stretch of the imagination, but it's way more simple. The card goes in the deck, boom, put the deck down, I've controlled the card. So I think that we need to look for simple ways to achieve everything and make it as simple as possible. But as I say, don't discount the techniques because they're hard or they're not self-working or they're not easy, because they can still be simple, if that kind of makes sense. But if we're looking about stuff where it's the least amount of work, shuffleboard. Okay, so we've got one final question from Mr. Harmon, and he says, what are some really good visual magic tricks for social media? Man, go check out TikTok. Look at any TikTok magician and check out stuff on there. I mean, the thing is, what you have to remember is, generally as a rule, if you're putting stuff on social media, you have to understand your audience, Mr. Harmon. And what I mean by that is, are you putting stuff on social media for magicians or for laymen? Normally it's for laymen, right? It's not for magicians. Like this YouTube channel is for magicians, but that's not always the case. I think most people that put tricks out on social media, it's for lay people, in which case, everything's going to be new to them. You don't have to look for the latest and greatest thing. Let me think. I reviewed Watch This on Wednesday's review show. I think Watch This is great for social media because you literally have a card, boom, you turn it into a watch and you can put it on your wrist. It's not great in many environments, but if you want something for social media and you don't mind spending 60 or 70 pounds, Watch This looks absolutely amazing. What else? Overstuffed by Bizarro is absolutely brilliant. We're doing a lot of the stuff on the shorts that's really visual. A lot of the short stuff that we're putting up at 2 o'clock every single day, you'll see a lot of stuff on there. If I like it, if I think there's something really visual, I'll probably put it on a shorts. So Henry Evans' colour changing deck, what's the name of it? Can't remember. Henry Evans' colour changing deck gimmick, where you've got a blue deck of cards in the box and you snap and the deck disappears and it's in your pocket, and then you've got the blue cards and you snap again and they turn red. That's absolutely brilliant. That's a great thing to do. Screwed deck by Paul Harris, absolutely fantastic. The Jota thing, where you've got a t-shirt and you pull a pack of cards off, brilliant. Henry Evans 3D advertising, where you've got like an advertising thing for a pack of cards, and boom, a pack of cards just appears off there. That looks great. Sudden Deck 3, that looks awesome as well. That's so visual. So there's a lot of really visual stuff that you can do. If you want a really good one, Mojo 2.0 by John Kennedy, where you show a full cup of coffee and you put your hand over it and the cup of coffee vanishes. Ryland's just filmed that for his YouTube channel. In fact, I'll put a video of it right now so you can see it. Mojo 2. Here we go.
I've got this coffee here, and I'm going to try and make the coffee all disappear. All I have to do is just put my hand on like this. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much.
So that's Mojo 2, yeah. I mean, you just look for really visual stuff. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. But if you wanna know what I really think is great for social media for quick visual magic, make sure you keep an eye on the shorts that we're putting up at 2 o'clock every day, because they're designed to be sub 60 seconds. Ideally, we're trying to keep them sub 30 seconds. So we're putting the stuff that I think is really visual onto those. So check out those. But it's Dice Bomb. Dice Bomb is absolutely amazing. Rubik's Cube, so I could go on and on. Keep an eye on the Shorts channel, and you'll see the sort of stuff that I really like. Okay, so the next question is by Hungry and Hungover. How you doing, man? And Hungry and Hungover says, thoughts on the best effects for the middle of a close-up set. I recently decided to study the 3-shell game, as it's something to break up card tricks and I love it. What is something non-card related that would fit really well between an opener and a closer? Well, I'm a kind of big believer that you shouldn't have any filler material. Everything that's in the middle should be worthy of being an opener or a closer, because you want your set to be as strong as possible. And if you're doing close-up magic, you've probably got, 10, 15 minutes of the absolute most to input form for these people. So you want it to be as impactful as you can. But again, it's very difficult to talk about trick selection if I don't know you as a character, I don't know who you are, I don't know what your character is, and I've talked about this on the channel before, but when you are selecting the tricks that you perform, you have to think about your character. So for example, somebody like Morgan and West, they're time-traveling Victorians. So that dictates the type of magic that they do, right? Look at Piff the Magic Dragon. There's certain things that you would never see Piff do because his character is dictated by, his trick selection is dictated by his character. But even less outlandish characters like Tom Crosby, the performing nerd, anything he does has to be kind of really nerdy. So a lot of stuff wouldn't work. Penn and Teller, they have a certain style that they need to fit into. So it's difficult to say what would make a good middler without knowing who you are and without knowing what your character is. All I've got to go on is that you don't want it to be a card trick. I mean, do you like coin magic? I could suggest some coin material, but if you're not very good at coins, that's going to be no use to you at all. I could suggest something like the Chop Cup, because Chop Cup is something that can go anywhere into an act, and it's brilliant and it's awesome. But, is that the sort of trick that you would like to do? And if it is, how are you going to do it? You've talked about learning the 3-shell game. Is your character the type of person that would perform the 3-shell game? Does the narrative fit all the way through? And what I mean by that is if your opening routine is hardcore mentalism, it doesn't make a great deal of sense if you're going into a routine that's all about gambling. So you need to understand your character when you select your tricks that are in the middle. But for me, stuff that fits really, really well in any point in an act is Chop Cup works really well. Extreme Burn works really well. Fiber optics, if you like, rope works really well. Some mentalism stuff. Do some peak stuff. We looked at Timesmith, the watch. Do some sort of time presentations. But again, I'm just talking about stuff I like. It very much depends on your character and your trick selection. Do me a favor, put a comment down below. Tell me a bit about your character. Tell me a bit about the type of tricks that you perform already. And then on next week's Q&A, I'll suggest to you what you should put in the middle. But tell me a bit more about who you are and your character. Okay, so the next question is from Ben LePage. How you doing, buddy? Loving the channel. Amazing amount of effort put in each and every week. Thank you. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on TUCs, triple TUCs, triple threats, 3CMs, etc. Do you use them much difference between Lassen and Schoolcraft? I don't use TUCs. That's the tango thing, isn't it? Don't use that. My thing is a triple threat or a 3CM. I like both Lassen and Schoolcraft. I know they've got this big war going on between them. For me, Lassen and Schoolcraft are great. I've got like probably 2 or 3 3CMs. I've probably got 2 or 3 triple threats. They're both amazing. I'm not going to pick one over the other. But I do a lot with that gimmick. I do a routine that is probably one of my top 10 workhorse routines that I do all the time. And if you want to see it performed and learned, and taught, performed, and then I teach it, get my At the Table lecture from Murphy's. It's called Triple Threat, and it's a routine that starts with 1 coin production, then you do something with 1 coin, then you make a 2nd coin appear, you do something with 2 coins, then you make a 3rd coin appear, you do something with 3 coins, then the coins disappear, then they reappear, then they change size, and you end up with a 5-inch coin, a 3-inch coin, and a 10-inch coin. It's a really strong routine that I do almost every single gig when I'm out actually going and doing gigs. So that's really cool. That's worth looking at. There's a lot of other stuff I do. If you want me to do like a deep dive into the triple threat stroke 3CM, there's about 7 or 8 routines that I do with those that I've created over the years. Let me know and I'll do a video on it. Let me know in the comments down below, because it's a bit of a niche thing. Not everyone's got a 3CM or a triple threat. So if you're interested, if enough people are interested, I'll put that video together. And the final question is by Tony Rosano. And Tony says, hey Craig, do you ever get to New York? I love New York. I'd like to get back there again soon. My first magic shop that I ever went to outside of the UK was in New York. God, let me tell you the story very, very quickly, very, very succinctly. I was working at a summer camp. In fact, so I was working at a summer camp called the Performing Arts and Sports Center in Storuca in Pennsylvania. I was a camp counselor there. I was working in the magic department, so I was teaching kids magic under Brad Henderson, who is amazing. And after the camp ended, I spent 3 months just backpacking around the whole of the USA. I got myself I think it's an Amtrak ticket, so I could go on any train all over. And I think I was there for about 3 or 4 months. And I was just backpacking, going from one place to another place to another place. I went all down the East Coast. I went over to the West Coast. I had an absolute blast. But I spent about 3 or 4 days in New York. And that was the first time I went there. And I've been there probably 5 or 6 times since. And the first time that I went there, so it was, I'd arranged to stay with a friend in New York that I'd met at camp. So I met this friend at camp, and I told him I wanted to go to New York, and he's like, well, I live in New York, I'll put you up. Just give me a call when you're there, and you can stay in my place for a few days with my family. I was like, that's amazing, thank you very much. Now, the problem I had is that this is before, I mean, we're talking, God, when I was 18. I was 18, so this would have been 86, sort of very early 90s. 92, 93, something like that. And I didn't have a phone. Didn't have a mobile phone. So I couldn't ring them beforehand. So I just thought I'll turn up in New York and call them. And I was coming from, where was I coming from? I was coming from Florida. I'd spent a few days in Florida. So I was coming up from Florida to New York. And when I got there into the train station, I rang up and there was no answer. And I was like, oh my God, I won't pay phone. No answer. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? And it was getting quite late because I arrived in the evening and it was getting quite late. I was like, oh my God, I'm in big trouble here. I better find somewhere to stay. So I tried to find some places to stay. I rang up some hotels that were kind of advertised in the train station, and it was like thousands of dollars. I was like, I haven't got this sort of money. I've got to, what the hell am I going to do? And I was seriously thinking, I'm going to have to sleep rough in New York here now. This is it, because I can't afford to get a hotel. He's not answering. What the hell am I going to do? And then I realized that it was around about, on the train from New York to Washington, D.C., it was around about a 3 or a 4 hour, I can't remember back now, it was years ago. It was about a 4 hour train journey. And there was a train just leaving to Washington, D.C. So I was like, right, I've got this ticket. I can get on any train, anywhere. I'm going to jump on a train to Washington. That's going to get me there at about 1:30, 2:30 in the morning. And then I checked on the train times. There was a train literally leaving 40 minutes later to come back to New York. So I caught a train to Washington. I waited around about 45 minutes, caught a train from Washington back to New York, got into New York about 8:30 in the morning. I rang him and he was like, oh yeah, sorry, I was out. Sorry, blah, 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 blah. And everything was fine, but I was really worried for one point. Anyway, when I was in New York, I went to Tannen's, and that's when I got my first magic book, my first proper magic book. They gave me, I said, oh, I love magic. I'm relatively new to it. I've just spent the summer teaching magic in Poconos, but I'm still relatively new to it. What can you advise? And they sold me, I said I like coin magic. So they sold me Super Magic by Paul Harris, Expert Coin Technique, the Big Black Book by David Roth, and Richard Zelmaniak. Those were the 3 books that they sold me. And they said, yeah, that's great for a beginner. and Cornucopia. John Carney's Cornucopia is also the other book that I bought back then, which was the one that I was reading on the train, because the others were really bloody heavy. Now, Super Magic wasn't, but yeah, so the other 2 were really heavy. So they went into my luggage, and Super Magic and Cornucopia were the books that I was reading, and I was there with $half, just trying to do all of this really complicated stuff, which is one of the reasons I love coin magic. But that's a very long-winded way of saying, yes, I love New York. I've been there several times. It's one of my favorite places in the world to go. I keep getting asked to go by Cosmo from Cosmo Magic. He would love me to go over there, and I keep saying I will, and I've never got around to it. Our schedules have never meshed, but I am going to be going over there at some point. I'm going to be going back over there. I would love to. I'd like to do some lectures over in America at some point, if I'm back in the magic community. I'm putting a lecture together. I think that's something I'd like to do if enough people were interested in seeing me lecture. That's something that I'd probably be interested in doing as well. But yeah, New York is amazing. New York is absolutely fantastic. So that's it, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Don't forget, if you've got a question, ask me in the comments down below, and I will try and answer them as quickly as I can. And don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, like the video, and also follow us on Instagram. So we're going to be doing Instagram from now on. We've set the channel up a few weeks ago, but I'm going to be putting exclusive videos on there as well. The link is down below. It should be coming up at the bottom bottom of the screen now. It's Magic TV _ Craig P or something like that. Go follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be posting on there every single day. And I'm going to be back on Monday with a 5x5. I've got an awesome 5x5 lined up for Monday. And a Shorts at 2 o'clock and a Magic Live at 6 o'clock. So I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good day. My name's Craig from Magic TV.